Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Brandon Gayheart is here. You may know him from his YouTube channel, The Supernatural Sleuth. I found this guy on Facebook Reels about 2-3 months ago, and I was like, we got to get him. We have to get him on this show. So that's what we are doing tonight. This guy is going to be awesome. You're going to enjoy it. Now we're 3. Lee Strauss will join us for the Q&A. So it'll be a fun show tonight. But first, we have to say hello to each and every one of you. We have Eternity Eternal in the gold medal position. Tim Mothman and his goatee with a silver. Kitty Caddywhack taking home the bronze medal tonight. Hi, Bar Madison and Race Fan. Nice to see you. Paramarv, thanks for coming on in. And thank you for putting Brandon's links up. Really appreciate that, my friend. And Road Flare, how are you? Nice to see you. Mel WD40 is here, lubing us up for tonight's show because you can't talk about the paranormal without being lubed up and nice and smooth. We really appreciate that. And thank you very much, Mel. You're the best. T-Bone, my man, what's happening? Creepy Pasta, Frankie B. Robert Lamoth is here. Robert Lamoth will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Mama Catherine, I know you love a good paranormal story, Mama Catherine. This is going to be awesome. I know you're going to enjoy tonight's show. I love you, my dear. And Neil, how are you? Luscious Jules, nice to see you. Eternity Eternal, good to have you back as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Jaquetta, thank you for coming on in. Good morning, Commonwealth Andrew. You're up early tonight or this morning. Moodens Mongol, how are you? Nice to have you here as we continue on with our roll call. Up next, we say hello to Cosmic Joe and Magnus Vermagnuson. Nice to have you here, buddy. Scrolling on down, Millennium, my man. Walter Kochabinski, good to have you both here. As well, we say hello next to Deanna Ann. How you doing, beautiful? Nice to have you here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Jerence Carter is here. Jerence will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. J. True Seeker, good to have you here tonight. Thank you for coming on in. As well, Undead Jed, Carol Amerio, and Area 53. Nice to see you all here tonight. Broken Shadow Feather, thank you for joining us. And Marion, how are you tonight? Good to have you back. Arthur, welcome to SOR Chat as we continue on with our roll call. And it looks like we are all caught up. Oh, there's Blue Cruise. I know there will be more of you dropping on in as the night gets ready. Relax. I'm just going to turn the radio side on here. Hold on. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in as we go all paranormal tonight the supernatural sleuth, Brandon Gayheart, is here. We're going to check on out a lot of his really cool paranormal stories, encounters, and everything like that. You're going to enjoy tonight's show. All right. We are at roll call on our YouTube side as we say hello to Benno. We say hello to Sylvain Godot and Area 53. Make that Area 54. Thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. And we are going to also remind all of you that you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check that on out. And we will obviously love to make you look good out in public. That's for sure. Our YouTube membership is open, as well as you can join the Space Travelers Club on Patreon. And we are very, very close to getting this show ready. We got about 10 seconds to go. I'm thankful each and every one of you are here. Brandon Gayheart is our guest tonight. It's all paranormal. Throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're getting closer to Halloween each and every night. That's why we're getting into the paranormal tonight. Brandon Gayheart is our guest. He's better known online as the Supernatural Sleuth. We're going to talk paranormal and supernatural with him momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for a creepy story. We're going to follow that up by Lee Strauss from Element 115 and the Q&A. So let's get right to this tonight because I'm very excited to have this guest on. And let me tell you why. About 3 months ago, I literally started, going through my reels on Facebook, and I do this type of show each and every night. So on my reels, I try and stay away from the paranormal and supernatural, give the old noggin a break on this. But the problem was this guy's reels, and I'm blaming him for this. This guy's reels kept on popping up in my feed. And I'm like, who is this supernatural sleuth? Well, Brandon Gayheart is a guy who is incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to the paranormal and supernatural. He is someone that when you watch his content online, he's bringing real encounters and real spooky stories to the public. It seems like on a daily basis. I mean, this guy is a cop. He is somebody in law enforcement. He is somebody who's a paranormal enthusiast his entire life, but he's now taken it to social media and he's taking off. I mean, this guy gets thousands of views on his videos, and I'm here to introduce them all to you because I want you guys to subscribe to this guy. And the reason why, me, I don't support a lot of paranormal because I think a lot of it is fluff. I think a lot of it is just people out there for their own ego and not respecting the field. Not Brandon. No way. I don't know him personally, but I could tell by his videos he's doing this because he cares and he wants to share a little bit of the paranormal madness and the stories that are going on out there. You could go subscribe to his YouTube channel, The Supernatural Sleuth. I have. I hope you do too. Brandon Gayheart, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Doing great, sir. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
I am so excited to have you here, my man. And like I said, I found you literally thanks to Facebook Reels, and
Mhm.
I've watched your content. Man, I know the one thing I can notice right off the bat about your videos is you have a high respect for this field and you take it very seriously. Why is it such a passion for you?
Ever since I was a kid, I can't, it's hard to put into words, but I've always been drawn to it. And what I realized over the years that so many people have had encounters, but in most cases they're afraid to speak up because you get labeled so easily as a liar. You're just doing it for attention. And a couple years ago, I just started on social media, started out telling my stories and experiences. Then little by little, I kept getting emails and messages, and people wanted me to share their experiences also.
How much do you enjoy it? How much are you really enjoying this social media limelight that you've kind of built for yourself? I know you probably didn't do it for the clicks or the likes. You seem a lot more mature than going after that, but I mean, people have really enjoyed your content.
I've been truly blessed with it, and I enjoy it. It consumes most of my day, which my days are pretty busy, but it's a true passion. It's something that I think about when I wake up and when I go to bed, and it's more of a calling, I think, than it is a hobby.
Well, I'm looking in our YouTube chat and people are already mentioning how they've already subscribed to your channel. So I like when that happens
Yes,
for
thank
our
you.
guests here. My question to you is, how did it all begin? Where did this love of the paranormal start?
Well, I had my first paranormal experience when I was 4 years old in my grandmother's house, which is actually, I could look out the window right now and see it. But I seen what is commonly known as Hat Man. The only difference being most Hat Man encounters are a shadow figure, looks like a tall man with a brimmed hat on. What I seen was full body apparition, the Monopoly Man. Thank the Monopoly Man, the top hat, the monocle, and that just sparked something inside of me that's carried on over 40 years.
What was that like? How far away was he from you?
Well, I'll never forget it. I was just 4 years old, but I can remember it. It was my grandmother used to babysit myself and my cousin. We were out on the porch. It was a beautiful spring day, sunshine, and she kept a toy box at the bottom of her stairs. It was a two-story house, and nobody really went upstairs much. It was mostly for storage. But there was a toy in that box that my cousin and I wanted to play with, and I volunteered to go and get it. And so I walk in the house and I make my way to the stairwell where this huge box of toys was. And as I'm leaning over, digging through the toys, I just felt the hair stand up all over my body. And I looked up, and just above me, this man was hands on the rail, leaning over, looking at me.
Oh,
Gray, a small gray beard, like a Victoria era suit, a top hat, and I can still see him 40 years later.
oh my. What was he doing? Just staring at you?
Just staring. He didn't move. He didn't speak a word. He was just looking at me.
That is creepy. And at 4 years old, I
Yeah.
mean, you must have been scared out of your mind. Did you run and tell mom and dad at that time?
Well, I remember running out, and I'm sure I told my grandmother, and I don't remember much after that. I'm sure she may have went and looked, but like most 4-year-olds who see a monster in the closet, I'm sure she didn't think much of it. But I can remember it 40 years later.
My goodness. My goodness. And did he ever come back?
I never did see him again, but I have seen things since then.
Well, tell us about these. I mean, I know you're a paranormal investigator, and you also dabble in the cryptid world where there's a lot of Sasquatch sightings and
Mhm.
weird creatures in your area. What are you looking for?
Well, the majority of my life, it's mainly been what we would think called ghost, the paranormal. But in the last probably 3 to 4 years or so, I've kind of got into the cryptid side of things due to my best friend, Zach Hall, who has quite of a bit of a background. He was on Expedition Bigfoot. I'm not sure if you're aware of that show on the Discovery Channel. Um, but he got me into the cryptid side of things. So now I'm kind of back and forth when the opportunity arises to hunt for Bigfoot or Dogman. I do that. If not, I go into haunted houses and buildings.
So this passion for the paranormal started basically at 4 years old because I mean, 40 years later, you still can't get this hat man creature out of your head. Did you, how did you lose the fear of it to become more curious?
Well, like I said, it was always in the back of my mind. I didn't really. I've always been fascinated with scary movies, paranormal, Halloween. I'm more of a night person, so that stuff has always resonated within me. But it's when I started in law enforcement that it really kind of took off on its own again. Getting calls when you investigate, like a trespassing call, only to chase a ghost on a hallway and it disappear at the end of the hall. And that's what got things ignited about 22, 23 years ago.
I gotta know. I mean, you being a police officer, how how do your fellow police officers treat you with what you're doing here?
The majority have had experiences themselves. There's always a few naysayers who laugh at it, which is to be expected. But the majority of the ones I know, in some form or fashion, have had some kind of experience themselves.
So they're pretty much all on board watching your content.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the majority, really support what I do. I mean, again, there's always some who don't believe or whatever, but the majority, yeah, they do.
You know, it's funny because have a couple of friends who are Mounties here in town,
Mhm.
Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and I have one gentleman there where every time I see him, he's like, "Hey, man, do you have any more Sasquatch encounters?"
Mhm.
And I'll have to fill him in with what's going on. And long story short, I asked him, I said, "How many paranormal calls do you get? Say in a month?"
Right.
And he goes, "You wouldn't believe it. We get at least two or three a month where people see shadows or
Mhm.
creatures walking in their yards." I'm like, "Why aren't you calling me?" I said, "You guys don't." I said, "No offense. You guys do a great job at what you do, but that isn't your field." I said,
Right.
"Call me, man. I'll run out there. I don't care. I'll take care of it for people." And,
Absolutely.
we have a good laugh over that, but it amazes me how many police officers are actually experiencers of the unknown, but most just do not want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And not just law enforcement, but I've had friends who are EMTs, paramedics, firefighters, and just everyday people, who have had experiences but don't like talking about it. But either they don't understand it or they're afraid of the ridicule and backlash that unfortunately does happen a lot of the time.
Why do you think so many police officers are afraid to talk about it?
Well, I think there's a few reasons. I think that we feel a lot of times that we're kind of held maybe to a higher standard. People look to us for safety, security, to be rational. Then you start talking about the supernatural and paranormal and ghost, and you worry about if people will take you serious. But I learned long ago, at least for myself, I'll speak the truth when no one else will, if I have to do that.
Oh, I get that. Did you ever once question why you're in this field, why you do what you do?
I do, or I have. I don't anymore. So one of the biggest things about me and my career, paranormal journey, and my life is I'm a devout Christian. And so it wasn't until I became a Christian about 17, 18 years ago that things really started making sense to me. And it's like everything just kind of fell into place after that.
As you've gone on in your paranormal world and trying to figure it out, being a Christian, I mean, are you trying to solve the life after death riddle? Are you trying to learn more about what it's like on the other side once we cross over?
No, for me, it's not that. Like I believe what the Bible teaches us, and I believe that's to be true. And I understand that's not for everyone, and I respect everyone's decision to believe or not believe what they want. But so when I began to mix those two worlds, the paranormal and Christianity, I went to the Bible. Well, what does the Bible say about the afterlife and ghosts or demons? And then that's where I draw my conclusion, and I stand firm in what I believe in.
And what have you come to that? What conclusion have you come to?
Well, one that's not really popular in the paranormal world, and I'll say this, especially with ghosts, like when people say they see a great grandpa was standing in my bedroom last night. I don't believe human spirits hang around here once we pass away. I believe in those cases they are demonic, unless it's in fact like a residual haunting, which I believe is more scientific than supernatural.
Well, that's interesting. And what makes you think that it's not grandpa visiting and it's something a little bit more nefarious?
Well, the Bible teaches us that to be absent from the body is to be present from the Lord, to be present with the Lord. I'm sorry. And I believe that we don't hang around. I believe that we're done here when we pass away, we go on. But the Bible also talks about the demonic entities that are here trying to deceive people, and they will do whatever is necessary to do that, to get your attention off what's really out there. They'll, disguise themselves as familiar spirits or whatever.
I believe that that has happened as well on numerous occasions with a lot of people. But you know, the idea that spirits when they leave, especially human spirits when they leave, that they are going to um they are going to a different place and they're not hanging around like something else might be. I mean, that's that's tough to kind of figure out because we really don't know what's on the other side. We don't know where heaven is. We don't know where much is on the other side. We can only assume. But
Sure.
I mean, have you ever, had to question all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that, I get asked pretty much on a daily basis, and something I've thought a lot about. I've prayed a lot about, looking for answers. And, I think there's maybe two or three, for me, options. It's demonic, it's not human spirits, which I believe is true in most cases. Or there are things out there that are not demonic or human spirits that we just don't know about. The Bible doesn't teach about them, and we don't know.
Being a police officer, what's the scariest paranormal supernatural encounter you've had while on duty?
Oh, good question. I have had several instances, like I have rolled up to a like trespassing call, and I've made entry into a building and see someone like at the end of the hallway, around a corner, knowing it's a dead end. There's no way to get out. You round that corner, no one's there. You'll hear footsteps, see people, and I couldn't tell you how many times I've had things like that happen. Or you see shadow people, doors slam in your face, hear voices calling out to you. I've been physically hit numerous occasions. I could literally, which I actually am writing a book, so I could tell stories like that all day.
Well, if you don't mind sharing one with us, that would be absolutely amazing.
One that stands out actually happened in the building I'm in right now. I'm actually at work, not on the clock, but I'm at work. So I worked at a college campus at police department, city police department, which this campus was essentially the city. And one of our duties when I worked night shift was to lock up the buildings at midnight, which that's when the curfew was. This one particular night, I was locking up the front door of this building, and on the third floor, I could hear what sounded like a party going on. I could hear talking, laughing, sounded like people running. And so my first thought was, I've caught a bunch of these kids out after curfew having a party. And so slowly started going up. It's on the third floor. And as I got closer, it got louder, just like it typically would. And when I got to where this was coming from, it was actually a game room at that time. This was the early 2000s. There was pool tables and ping pong tables. And so when I got to the doors, I got my key out. And I was trying to be quiet. I put it in the door. I swung the door open, and the lights were off, and there wasn't anyone. Everything went silent. There was no one there but me.
Oh my.
Yeah. That was one of the first ones that I ever experienced that really put chills down my spine.
What was it like when you opened that door and there's nobody there?
Oh, it's almost like a punch in the gut because, I know what I heard. Like there was no mistake. The TV wasn't on. There was no one else around. And within an instant, I knew that this was something paranormal because this place was notoriously haunted. And I'd heard stories all my life, but that was the first one that really oh man, I'm into something here.
Did you go in? Did you investigate?
I did. Yeah, I did step inside. I shined my flashlight just to make sure, but there's no physical way that anybody could have got away, or there was no one there.
Man.
Yeah, but I didn't hang around long. I got out of there pretty quick, to be honest.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah.
I totally wouldn't blame you for doing that. Did the noise restart once you left?
I didn't hear it. I made my way back downstairs, which probably took me, less than a minute, but I didn't hear it what time I was in the stairwell.
Oh man. Holy cow. That's enough to give chills down the spine.
Oh, it did.
A lot of people claim that when they're driving around the streets, especially around Halloween, as Halloween approaches, there's always these legends of the white lady, the lady in the white gown. Have you ever, in your town that you patrol, had that mystery go on?
Yeah, or that, or something very similar. I personally have witnessed not a lady in white, but again, right out the window to my right now, one night while on patrol, I seen a lady with a purple sweater, a pair of dark jeans, short brown hair, standing right beside the road, clear as day. She was there, and then she wasn't. But I'm not the only one. There are other people in this area have seen very similar things.
My goodness. And who do you report that to? You just kind of bite your tongue and say, oh, geez, that happened again, didn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like I said, some of my fellow officers, co-workers, we talk amongst ourselves, but we don't really file a report or, what do you say to that, really?
Well, we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour in about 20 seconds. We're going to tell people where you work and some of the creepy areas that you patrol because, the Appalachians seem to have a reputation.
Definitely.
And it's a reputation of high strangeness. It's a reputation of paranormal, supernatural, cryptid, UFOs. And then you get into the feral people that are running around as well. It's a scary place, and I am so excited to have our guest on tonight. Brandon Gayheart is here, the Supernatural Sleuth. You could go subscribe to him on YouTube as we speak. I did. I hope you do too, the Supernatural Sleuth. And you can follow him on social media as well. He's all over TikTok and Facebook. So make sure you check him on out. We'll be right back. All right, buddy. That's a good start. Good, solid start, my man.
Thank you, sir.
You having fun?
Oh yeah, I love it. I could talk about this all night.
Oh man. Well, at least the next 90 minutes we're going to. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. We got about 4.5 minutes here. Charlene, how are you? Nice to see you. And who else has jumped in here? Well, that's about it. That's about it. And for our audience, I'm going back out to Flight 21 on Sunday. I'm going. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm waiting for microphones to come in. Okay, I got to order up some microphones so that way. And I'm in a conundrum here because I still use the iPhone that still has the flat plug on it, and I haven't jumped up to that C. I think they call it a C cord now, or whatever the hell it is. And I'm thinking I probably need to upgrade my phone before I get out there so I can investigate properly. So, yes, thank you everybody who's subscribing right now to Brandon's channel. That's awesome of you guys.
You.
Well done, team. Kaz, how are you? Eric Stover. So yes, I'm going back out. My friend Mark is going to come with me. You've seen him on this show before. He's in the chat room sometimes as Timber Hunter. We are going out on Sunday, and hopefully Bigfoot doesn't eat us. Well, I'll be honest with you. If we do get attacked, I'll just shoot Mark in the leg so that way I can run away. It's only fair. It really is only fair. So, but Mark knows the area. He's been there numerous times with me. So, it's like a natural, just like Tim, being out there. So we're going to make sure that we have a good time. And we're losing daylight fast here. We really are losing daylight fast. My goodness, what's the date? October 17th. Well, in 2 months and 8 days, or 2 months and 3 days, when we hit the solstice, it'll be getting dark here. Sun will be setting at like 3:45 in the afternoon. Creepypasta, where are you from? Jessica Jones, if it happens, it happens. It's all part of the game. She says, Bigfoot might eat your ass. Be safe, Dave. If it happens, it happens. And hopefully they talk dirty to me first. That's all I'm saying. Only fair. I'm probably going to cut that one up onto a short too, because that's a good short right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're my neighbor from like 3,900 miles away if you're in Vermont, Creepypasta. You might want to stop and get some gas if you're driving. You might need a tank or two to get here. We got just over a minute here. In the studio, how you doing? I'm actually really excited for December, and not because of Christmas this year, but because my little town will finally have a McDonald's that's open. We don't have a McDonald's in my town, Brandon.
We don't either, where I'm from.
Yep.
No.
Babylon Rose, how you doing? All right. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone for gifting a membership. And a big thank you to Area 54 and Creepypasta for the great super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, everybody. So thank you very, very much. I got to create a bunch of new swag this weekend. Yeah, I do. Which reminds me, I got to put that on my note. Here, hold on. And all right, I'm ready. We're coming back here in about 8 seconds, and I'm just going to re-intro the show, Brandon.
Sounds good.
Here we go. Here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. They call him the Supernatural Sleuth. Same name. You can subscribe to his YouTube channel, as Brandon Gayheart is here telling us stories of being an Appalachian cop and a paranormal investigator. Thank you so much, Brandon. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
It's my pleasure. Glad to be here.
All right. Whereabouts are you? So people, and there goes my Canadian accent right there. Whereabouts are you in order for us to find where you're investigating the weird and strange?
I am from the mountains of eastern Kentucky, right in the thick of it.
Born and raised there?
Born and raised, lived here all my life.
Man. So you know that area like the back of your hand.
Pretty well, yeah.
Are there places after this long of serving your community and being a paranormal investigator that you just will not drive alone?
Well, there are certainly places I don't like to go alone. Appalachia, as we've mentioned, it's known for cryptids and ghosts and everything spooky. And that's all true. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. If you've never visited, they're breathtaking if you've never seen them. There's, not every time you go out in the mountains, something spooky happens, but there are places that people do avoid, just because, if nothing else, the feeling you get when you get there.
Do you always feel that you're being watched, whether you're on duty or whether you're just walking around, in certain areas? I mean, you have enough paranormal experience now to know if you're being watched or not.
Not all the time, but you definitely know when you are. One thing I talk a lot about on my social media, like if you're out in nature, if you're out in the mountains and they go silent, because, people may not realize it if you've never been out in nature. It's loud with the birds, the insects, all the animals. There's a lot going on, but you don't really realize it until it stops. And then for certain, you're not alone at that point.
Growing up near the Appalachians, this is an area and a territory that seems to scare a lot of people. There is a ton of stories. A good friend of mine on this show, Christian McLeod, he lives in Georgia, and he is near the Appalachians as well. And, he kind of says, man, when you go there, you just never know what to expect. You don't know if it's going to be feral people. You don't know if it's going to be ghosts and settlers or First Nations people, or whether the cryptids are going to come out and play like Bigfoot or the little people or any monster in between. Is it really that active for the Appalachians?
Yes and no. I mean, like I said, I've lived here my whole life. I'm a hunter, fisherman. I've spent a lot of days and nights out in the mountains, and not there. It's not all the time. There's not something all the time that happens, but if you spend enough time, more than likely you will experience something on some level.
Why do you think that mountain pass is so haunted and so weird?
The truth is nobody really knows for sure. Appalachia is one of the oldest in the world. And over the centuries, there's a lot of good things that have happened, a lot of bad things, which is true with anywhere. But, I think that's one of the greatest mysteries of it all is no one really knows why, but it's true.
The spirits and the hauntings that are there for people who may not understand, what's normally haunting? Is it like pilgrims and settlers, or is it a lot of just bad spirits like wendigos and skinwalkers?
Dude, it's like a buffet, honestly. I mean, I've heard every story you can imagine from your typical ghost story. You see what looks like a person, only to realize it's not when they vanish or walk through a tree. You hear the Bigfoot stories, the Dog Man, Wendigos, and something that just came on my radar within the last couple of years is the feral people, which seems to be more prominent in the Smoky Mountain region, Tennessee, North Carolina, than anywhere else.
Right. The feral people are apparently there are these groups of I guess you could call them, colonizers, because that's what they're doing.
Right.
And they're creating these groups. A lot of people who go missing are believed to be kidnapped by these groups. I've even heard stories that there are a lot of police officers who really don't want to deal with those cases because if you go searching for those people, they've naturalized themselves to nature, much like an animal,
Mhm.
and you don't know what kind of booby traps are set up. You don't know what they have for weaponry because they broke it into vehicles, they broke it into cabins and homes and others to arm themselves. What do you make of these feral people?
Well, like I said, I've just started kind of looking into this over the past couple of years. And like I said, the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, North Carolina, which is protected land, it's a national park. It makes sense if feral people do exist, that's where they would be because the land is protected. There's no hunters. It's very dense forest. There are places I'm sure that people have never even been. And there's a theory out there that the government, as you kind of mentioned, know these people exist, but they kind of keep them in these protected areas, national parks, to kind of keep a handle on it the best they can. But sometimes things happen, and that's where stories come from.
What are some of the stories you've heard about these? Have you heard about these people being kidnapping, or have you ever on your side of the Appalachians investigated these strange missing people cases?
On my end, I haven't personally. I mean, I've obviously investigated missing people, but nothing to make me believe it was feral people. But in the Smoky Mountains, one of the most famous cases was in 1969. A young boy named Dennis Martin, who was 6 years old, he vanished pretty much right in front of his family. They were playing hide and go seek, and they literally took their eyes off of him for a matter of seconds. And it was the biggest search and rescue effort in American history at that point. The Green Berets, the United States Army Green Berets, even helped search for this kid, and there was never a trace ever of him anywhere.
Yeah, we've had a couple of people on here, Christian McLeod and a good friend of ours, Steve. He's come on a number of times talking about the Dennis Martin case and how this case just seemed to really affect a lot of people. It
Yeah.
happened way before you or I were even born, but You know, one of the sad cases that Steve has told us was that, you know, Dennis's dad, before he passed away, every knock on the door, he was still hopeful that it would be Dennis showing up saying, "Hey, Dad, I'm home."
Sure. Yeah. But, you know, Dennis isn't the only one. There have been others also.
Is it a lot of children that go missing there, or is it hikers or fishermen or campers?
I think it's a mix. You know, Dennis is the only child I know of. I know there was a young girl who was maybe like 17, 16, 17. Was on a school trip. I think they were in the Klingman's Dome area of the park, and she vanished right. You know, all of her classmates were walking the trail, and they seen her, and then they didn't, and she disappeared. And there's been reports of an older lady, not old, but, you know, 50, 60-year-old vanished without a trace. So it's just like their creature, you know, opportunity. Just whenever they had the opportunity to get someone, they do.
Do you think then that a lot of these happenings, when they do happen, is that maybe it is something supernatural that's happening rather than um, something that is more human happenstance?
Right. I mean, it's certainly possible. You know, I think so. You know, there's always the possibility that some of these people wanted to vanish. You know, especially the older people. But is it possible there were supernatural elements? Yeah, definitely. But for one reason or another, in that region of Tennessee and North Carolina, you know, I've been told stories, and I have told stories on my social media of park rangers who have had encounters with these people and swear that they're true, you know, that they do exist.
Man, man. As an officer, have you ever had encounters with any cryptid type creatures while on duty?
Well, I don't know. I had an experience one time early in my career. I worked night shift for years, and there's a baseball field for this college. It's on top of a mountain. It's very peaceful, secluded, quiet. When I didn't have anything going on, I'd go up there and just relax. I used to smoke. I would get out of my cruiser, turn the radio up, stand outside and smoke. And one night, I had done this many times, but I leaned up in front of my cruiser. I was just smoking my cigarette, and about 80 to 100 yards in front of me, something came tearing down this mountain. It sounded like a landslide or a mudslide. Sounded like trees falling, but it wasn't. Like coming at me at the speed of a car traveling, and there was absolutely nothing there. I don't know what it was. I've never heard anything like that in my life. And there have been people in this area who have, like credible people, who have encountered Bigfoot. So I don't know that it was a Bigfoot. It could have been Bigfoot. It could have been something totally explainable, but I can't explain it.
Man, that's got to be weird, man. I mean, how do you not throw your cigarette on the ground at that time and run back into your car for safety?
Oh, I did. 100% I did. Yeah. I mean, I did shine my light for a moment, hoping to see a huge rock or trees, but nothing. I even went back the next day when it was daylight to see, and there was nothing out of place. There wasn't a tree down, nothing.
So what do you think it was?
I have no idea. I feel like it was supernatural on some level, be it a cryptid or a ghost, whatever. I don't know. I didn't do that for a while though.
No, no. I bet. But I guess when you're on patrol, you have to go into those areas because that's part of the duty.
Yeah, you do. Thankfully, that's a spot where we don't really have to visit that often. I mean, I have been there many times since then with no issues at all. But that one night, I don't know what was in those mountains with me, but I wasn't alone.
Have you personally, outside of work, had any cryptid encounters?
Um, I had one encounter in Western Kentucky that I believe might have been a cryptid. I don't know. Probably close to 20 years ago. So my family and I go for the last almost 30 years to Western Kentucky, which is much more flat land, known for, the huge deer population. We hunt on a farm down there. And I was hunting in an area we called the swamp because it was essentially a swamp. And I'd heard tales of Bigfoot. My cousin swears to this day he seen Bigfoot in that area. But I was pulling up in the middle of the day to get in my tree stand. I was on a four-wheeler ATV, and I was going to finish my cigarette before I got in my tree stand. And all of a sudden, there was a noise. It was like a guttural growl. It sounded like maybe 30 yards to my right. And I kept expecting to see something walk out. Then it was behind me. Then it was on my left side. Then it was in front of me. And this was very dense, thick, grown up, so you didn't have great visibility. And I had never heard anything like that in my life. I don't know what it was. I looked at my tree stand thinking, should I get up the tree or should I just leave? I just left because I had no clue what it was, but I did have a friend who was about probably 150, 200 yards away in his tree stand, and he heard the exact same thing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
See, I've heard those stories. I'm a hunter as well. And I've heard those stories, from around North America, mainly in the US, where a lot of tree stands. Up here, we don't get a lot of people hunting out of tree stands.
Right.
We kind of we're stupid. We bog down here.
Right.
All right. We find our spot early and we just pray that a moose doesn't sneak up on us because they're kind of dangerous.
Right.
Yeah. And nobody around here ever seems to get the tags for the moose. So that kind of sucks too.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, I've heard a number of stories where these cryptids seem to hang around these tree stands and hunters, especially if there's bait stations out or something along those lines.
Right.
Have you heard those stories before of that kind of incidents happening with the cryptids?
Yeah, I have. And like I said, my cousin, he's more like an uncle to me. He's my neighbor. He been, a prominent figure in my life since I was a child. Very serious hunter. And he swears to this day, I was actually talking to him about it about a week ago. The same farm where we hunt, this would have been probably 8 or 10 years ago. He said he was sitting in his tree stand one day while we were there, middle of the day, just like I was, and he watched a Bigfoot. He said it was the reddish brown fur, probably 8, 9 feet tall. He said, I watched it walk out of a pine thicket to my right until it went out of sight. He said, there's so many things that go through your mind. Is it someone in a suit, a costume, or is it, because that's something you always hear. Well, if Bigfoot's real, why don't they just shoot it? I think in the back of most people's minds, that's always there. Is that somebody just dressed up in a costume, But where we were at, I don't think so, because it's very remote, very dense, and I believe he's telling the truth. He's seen Bigfoot.
I had a buddy of mine. I was talking to him today, and his name's Roger. And a couple months ago, Roger and I got together, and he's like, "You really believe in this Bigfoot stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." I was telling him about some of the places where I go and the experiences we have. So in the back of his mind, he has this. And a couple weeks ago, he's out hunting with his wife out in the backwoods here, back of his property, which goes on to what we call crown land, which you guys call federal land.
Okay.
And he's like, "Dave, we came between these two swamps and going to my special deer hunting spot." And he goes, all of a sudden we started hearing these strange noises. And he goes, all of a sudden everything you said clicked in my head. And that's when the tree knocks started. He goes, we heard these 3 loud tree knocks. I said, well, what'd you do? He goes, I got the hell out of there because you freaked me out. Right. And I'm like, well, you're gonna send me there, right? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, I'm not gonna take you there, but I'm like, you going back? He goes, not to that spot. Right.
Yeah.
And Roger's a guy where he never believed. Like, I live in a logging community. I don't know if your community is a logging community or not, but I live in a logging community, and a lot of the loggers, they're pretty tough, forward people.
Right.
They work hard, they play hard, and they love their families.
Sure.
That's kind of the attitude up here.
Right.
And a lot of these guys, if you get the right ones, they'll tell you about their stories.
Right.
Logging truck drivers have a lot of incredible stories up here. And I would assume down there with the hardworking blue collar people, once you get them talking, you get some incredible stories down there.
Oh yeah, definitely. One thing that's big around here, which logging is, but was coal mines, which it's not like it used to be. But I've heard a lot of stories from these guys who literally are miles underground coal miners, and there should be nothing, 8 or 10 miles underground, no kind of animal, or definitely not a person just wandering around, but they can tell stories that will make your hair stand up. And these are the same type of guys, no nonsense, hardworking, love your family type dudes, and they can tell stories and make your hair stand up, but a lot of them don't talk about it. Most of them don't talk about it.
How do you get that conversation going with these guys?
Usually it has to be someone you're close with, a family member, or someone you went to school with, someone that'll open up to you. I think a lot of your old timers that have passed on, back in the early 1900s, they wouldn't, I don't think, really talk about it. But I think some of the generation more my age are a little more open about it. And I've heard some stories, but for the most part, though, they don't open up a lot.
Is it one of those things where you just don't talk about it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like I said, occasionally you'll find a couple that will a little bit, but for the most part, they don't talk about it.
For me, the way it happens in our community is I've kind of developed the reputation, not as the weird guy in town, but the guy who talks about all this in town. And it's funny because I will get people coming up to me saying, hey, are you that ghost guy, or are you that Bigfoot guy? And I'll be like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I tell you a story?
Right.
Or if you're meeting them for the first time, they're like, like, I'll go up to somebody. So if you're a hunter, you ever see anything strange out in the forest?
Sure.
And they'll be, they'll give you the what strange. I found a weird bear print one day where the toes were crooked. No, anything strange.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they finally catch on to what you're saying, it's amazing what people will tell you when they realize that they're not going to be ridiculed for it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I think that could be the difference. Like now there's a lot of ghost or Bigfoot shows on TV. It's not frowned on as much. More people do talk about it. But, back 40, 50 plus years ago, that stuff wasn't around. So it was almost like very taboo. People just it didn't happen. That's that's one of the sayings here in Appalachia. Like, if you heard something or you seen something, no, you didn't. Didn't happen.
What is we got 20 seconds or so, or maybe 40 seconds. What's with that attitude that if you saw something, no, you didn't?
I guess if you acknowledge it, it just makes it real. If you just nonchalantly, nope, that didn't happen, that I don't think it makes it any less real, but for some people, they don't talk about it, or they didn't see it. They didn't hear it.
Wow. I guess, you know what? It's a safety mechanism. You don't talk about it. It didn't happen. And that way you don't have to ever talk about it again. Brandon, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hard to believe we're already through 1 hour here on Spaced Out Radio. The supernatural sleuth, Brandon Gayheart, is our guest. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel. Hit subscribe. Ring that bell. He's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media with great shorts and great videos.
Thank you.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Brandon, I'm just going to put you in the background here for a couple of minutes. I'm going to go refill my water. I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good.
Be right back, everybody. Hi, Radio Wendigo. back. Let's bring in Brandon. Brandon, how you doing?
Doing well, sir. Doing
Good.
well.
You having fun?
Oh yeah, I love it.
Good. I'm so happy you're here, buddy. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
We got about 40 seconds. Thank you to Fast Hemi for coming on in. Excuse me. Who else we got? Tokeland, how are you? And I think we're caught up. All right. Thank you tonight to Area 54 and Creepy Pasta for the super chats. Thank you to T-Bone for another gift of a membership. Appreciate you, T-Bone. Thank you for the love. Here we go, everybody. All right, another hour underway here at Spaced Out Radio. It's hour number 2. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking paranormal with the supernatural sleuth coming right up here. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fascinoris. Fascinoris is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to our guest tonight. He is known as the Supernatural Sleuth. He is a police officer in the Appalachians in Kentucky. His name is Brandon Gayheart, and we're glad to have him here because his reels and his stories of the paranormal are absolutely incredible. And Brandon, we want to say thank you again for coming on tonight's show.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
All right. I'm looking at your YouTube channel as we speak here, and you've done an episode recently about, kind of being near cabins and true encounters that you have had. You mentioned earlier the scariest one you've had, but what's one that maybe involves maybe a UFO or a ghost that just really, really, got to your head thinking, what the heck is this?
Oh, good question. I will say the scariest thing that has happened to me, it didn't happen directly to me, but I was there. Me and probably 5 or 6 of my friends we were doing a paranormal investigation, but not like a real serious one. It was just more or less a bunch of guys like, hey, let's just go sit in this haunted place, see if anything happens. And this, being many years ago, and the guy that this happened to, he's now a Kentucky State Trooper. At the time, he was probably about 17. But he was always terrified of everything spooky. He didn't like going ghost hunting. He didn't like anything about it. So we were in this place, this building. It's an auditorium, like a big stage and the catwalk and chairs. And we were just sitting on the stage with the lights out. He's sitting to my right. And after a few minutes, he starts talking about he's seeing a face like in front of his. He said, do you see that? And I'm like, no, I don't see anything. I said, what are you seeing? And he described what we would think a devil face with like the horns. And
oh, wow.
He said it was like it was made out of smoke, but he said this thing was just like right in his face. And I just tried to make him feel better. And, it's probably just your eyes adjusting to the darkness. And so this goes on for like 15 or 20 minutes. And every so often I would ask him, do you see it? And he's like, yeah, it's right there. And after about 20 minutes, he gets up and walks across the room, which at the time I didn't even really catch, but that was very not normal for him to do because he didn't like to go anywhere by himself while we were doing this. And he had walked over, and another one of my friends came to me. He said, his name was Michael. We called him Mikey. He said, go over there and stand by Mikey. I'm like, what's up? He said, just go over there. So I get up, and this is pitch black, darkness. And I make my way to where he's at. And within probably 8 feet of him, I could feel coldness. It was just like the temperature dropped 10 degrees in just the bubble that was surrounding him. And he's just standing looking at the wall, not doing anything. Total darkness. And I said, are you okay? And at this, he sounded perfectly normal. Fine. Like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, I'm just standing here. I was like, are you okay? Something was very wrong and off. And he's like, I'm fine. And I just grabbed him by his arm and walked him back to the stage area. And I said, are you still seeing that face? And he was just nonchalant. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I had him sit down on the stage. And I said, do you still see this thing? He's like, yeah, yeah, no big deal. I said, where's it at? And he pointed beside of him. He said, oh, it's sitting right here. And I shined my flashlight on his face. And when I say his eyes were black, I don't mean like the movies where his whole eyeball was black, but his eyes were very unnatural. They were darker than they should have been. And I said to me, I was like, we've got to get you out of here. He's like, no, I'm fine. I don't want to leave. We immediately took him outside. We had to pretty much drag him out, and we began praying over him. And it took just a few minutes, and it's just like he snapped out of it, and he didn't have any clue of what happened. The only thing he remembered was sitting beside of me and seeing that face. And that was like a Saturday night. That Sunday morning, he was sitting in church. I don't know what happened, something. I'm not saying he was possessed, but I think he certainly had an attachment. I will say that's probably the scariest thing I have personally witnessed.
No kidding. That would be absolutely creepy.
Oh, it was terrifying.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Totally see that.
Yeah. You know, I've had a lot of things happen to me, just like jump scares or, you know, creepy things, but like something took over his body, at least to some degree, that night. And again, I'm not saying he was possessed, but he was definitely had some kind of attachment or was oppressed. Something was going on.
Goodness me. Goodness me.
Yeah.
Wow. What's the most haunted location in your little town?
You know, you hear stories of a few places here and there, but I personally believe it's where I work, where I'm at right now. Honestly, this is one little small area. For me personally, I have encountered more things and know people who have encountered things in this 1 mile radius than anywhere else.
What happens there?
Well, you name it. The place I work, this college, it's kind of the hub of things for some reason or another, which, you know, if you'll look at hauntings, schools have always been hot spots for paranormal for one reason or another. But even within this, like I said, 1 mile radius, there have been everything from ghosts, Bigfoot, other kinds of cryptids, man, you name it, like UFO sightings, orbs, you name it. It's happened right here.
Has there been a lot of UFO and alien activity there?
Well, I wouldn't say a lot that I know of, but I do know people, reputable people I trust and know who are telling me the truth, who have said they have 100% seen what they described as UFO or UAPs right here. Yeah.
Do you ever get called out to cases about that?
I haven't personally, no. I've had, again, just people come to me, not, trying to file a report, but just like, like, man, I seen something last night and I went out to feed my dog or whatever. Um, but I've never responded to like an alleged UFO or UAP thing.
You get a lot of people talking about alien encounters or abductions.
Um, over the years, the last several years, it's something you hear more of. I don't know if it's because it's in the news. The United States government more or less has confirmed that they are beings or UAP, UFOs. So I don't know if it's just people are hearing it and thinking, okay, well, other people having these experiences, the government's acknowledging these things are real. So, now I can speak up. So, yeah, I mean, I think you hear it more often now than you used to.
This may sound like a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. As a police officer, do you or your department have a protocol for UFOs in case something happened?
No, we don't. Which I work at a very small department, and most of the calls we get, like I said, there have been a lot that are what I would or people would classify as say ghost or supernatural, but we don't have uh, a UFO UAP type plan. But the way things are looking, that may be something we should definitely consider.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Who's the most famous ghost in your town?
Oh man, I don't know that we really have a famous one. One of the most famously haunted locations, which I won't say famous, but so there's a place. It's actually just across the mountain from where I'm at right now. Back 60, 70 years ago, it was called the Blue Moon Cafe, but Charles Manson, when he was a little boy, his mother worked at this Blue Moon. It was more or less a bar. She was a lady of the night and a bar hostess, and but that's well documented. Charles Manson did. She actually traded or sold him to someone for something, but ended up getting him back. But this is documented. It's true. The Blue Moon Cafe is one of the most notoriously. There's no rumors of Charles Manson himself haunting it, but just because of who he is, I guess it's kind of notorious because he spent time here.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You go looking for Bigfoot in your area. This is something that you have interest in as well. For you and the interest that you have in this subject, is there a lot of evidence of Bigfoot activity there?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think so. There are people the common things, the tree knocks and the typical things you expect with Bigfoot that you hear pretty much everywhere. But what got me interested in Bigfoot are you familiar with the show Expedition Bigfoot? It's on
Yes.
Discovery. Okay, so my buddy, my best friend Zach Hall, he was Russell Acord's cameraman for the first 3 or 4 seasons. And that's how I got into Bigfoot. I got to know Russell, and he and I and Zach have been on hunts ourselves, paranormal, Bigfoot. And so they actually is the one who taught me a lot about Bigfoot. I had never really personally went out actively searching for him until they got me into it. And I asked Zach, when he was working, I was like, so is this all for TV, or do you guys really encounter the things? And he swears to this day that what they film legit happens. It's not for TV. They really experience it. And I believe them.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're in an area where there is the potential of Sasquatch there. It's I don't even know how to explain it, man, because You know, I mean, a lot of people will not believe you with the encounters that you hear of, but you just got to go with it. You know what I'm saying? You just got to go and try and make it work, make it happen, and look for the little clues and the little shreds of evidence that might be there for you. You know, I mean, if you don't know what you're looking at, you're definitely not going to know if it's there or not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And the most credible Bigfoot encounter that for me, so my former chief, he was a chief of police. Um, he left a couple years ago. His mother, who lived to be almost 100, she passed away probably 6, 7 years ago. Very sweet Christian lady, what you would think of just salt of the earth, pretty beautiful little old lady that you think your typical Christian woman. Till the day she passed away, and she told her son, who was my chief at the time, when she was younger, and this literally was maybe a half mile up the road from where I'm at now. You know, back then, your nearest neighbor may be a half mile away, very rural area. But she said her neighbor, and she witnessed this. He and his family had went inside for the night, and as they were getting ready for bed, they heard something on the front porch. And the dad went, I guess, expecting a neighbor, open the door, only to find, she described it because at this time, this would have been probably in the 1950s, early 60s, a very hairy man that looked like a monkey. And I don't know, I don't remember what transpired, but according to her, this dad picked up an axe, which he had been chopping firewood, and took this thing out. I don't know if it was aggressive toward him or what. The next day, he went into town and got the sheriff and I think someone with maybe like the health department. And she witnessed, she seen this creature after it was passed away and told them what happened. And later that day, there were some people, I don't know who they were. She said from the state. I don't know if that could have been state police or some kind of government official came, took this thing, and they told them they would let them know what it was later on, but they never did hear from him again. And she swore until the day she passed away, she promised, she swore that was true.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So
what do you think of ghosts? I know you said that you believe that ghosts are more demon like, but I mean, there's so much energy that is walking through your area, from past settlers, from farmers and First Nations people. Do you think that maybe these ghosts are maybe people from the past with residual energy to the area?
I do think that residual hauntings could really be a thing. It's almost like a moment in time that's just on loop. They're not intelligent hauntings. When that happens, it's just the same thing on repeat. The same ghost or person is doing the exact same thing. They don't communicate. You can't interact with them. Again, to me, that is more scientific than paranormal. Because energy, can't be destroyed. So, it begs to reason that that is possible. But, one of the things that I always go back to is, the devil doesn't chase you with horns and a pitchfork because that would turn everybody to God if everybody believed he was real or knew he was real. But they will appear in ways or as people who, I see this all the time on TV. These ghost hunters on TV will say, use my energy. I believe you lived here 100 years ago. You're the guy who built this house. Channel my energy to manifest, to do this or do that. And I think that's what they want. They want you to open up. And you're not going to open up if they look like what we think a demon might look like. But if they look like a farmer from 100 years ago, it's pretty harmless. Or they look like your great grandpa. So that's, typically how I think they manifest.
Let's get some audience questions here because they are starting to build up, and I always like to get some audience participation here. We're going to kick things off with one of our longtime listeners, T-Bone here, who is asking, Brandon, I asked this question a lot. What was your I know what I saw moment?
I would say, when I was 4 years old, the first thing I encountered paranormal, I seen a Victoria era man, Monopoly man. That's what I think of. He kind of looked like. When I was 4, there was no mistake. I didn't dream it. I didn't imagine it. I seen that man clear as I see you right now.
How about as an adult? What would be your moment like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I've seen so many things, but the realest thing that I know, I talked a minute ago about my friend who had the attachment. I know that night that something dark had its grip on him, no question.
Mm. All right, let's sneak in another one here. Let's go to Joe here. Appalachia, whistle in the woods. Keep your windows open at night. If somebody calls you from the woods, go check it out. LOL.
Yeah, I think that's opposite of what you're supposed to do. Don't whistle in the woods. Close your curtains at night and never go look if someone calls your name. Yeah, that's the.
Well, let's talk about this for a little bit for people who may not know. Why should you not whistle in the woods?
Well, a lot of this is just folklore. I don't know where it came from originally, but I think the idea behind it is, there are just spirits out there just looking for the slightest bit of invitation. And so if you're whistling, something's going to whistle back. Or kind of falls in the same category as if something calls your name or screams for help, you don't go looking for it because it's just trying to draw your attention to, ultimately draw you deeper into the forest. To what end, I don't know, but a lot of people go missing here.
Man, I've heard voices in the forest before.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Okay, tell us your story about that. We got about a minute to go.
Well, I've had that happen several occasions. Nothing. It's almost to the point of where you can't really make out what they were saying, but it sounded like someone either yelling, wanting me to respond. I couldn't tell if they were yelling for help or just. But I've heard like one voice talking, and I've heard what sounded like a group of people talking. And my best explanation is they want you to go investigate. What is that? There shouldn't be anyone else out here. So I'll go a little bit deeper into the forest. I'll go looking for this noise or whatever it is.
Man, could you understand the words they were saying?
Um, Not really. I mean, occasionally there would be a clear word, but nothing definitive like, help, I'm lost or I'm hurt, nothing like that. But just it sounded, I had the feeling of like it just wanted me to go investigate. Like, who's out here? There shouldn't be anybody on my property. But it's like there was an invisible wall I knew not to go past.
Well, let's hold you right there. We have the supernatural sleuth, Brandon Gayheart, here for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio, telling stories, taking questions from our audience. It's a paranormal night here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. This is awesome, man.
I love it. Some people don't like to hear about the paranormal, but it's something I can talk about all day.
Oh, me too, man. Me too. Let's go here. I want to just follow up a couple more things with this question here. So I'm just going to leave this question up. If you guys have questions for Brandon, please put them in capital letters. It's easier for me to read them. And I appreciate that. The audience is loving you, man.
Well, I appreciate that. It's and I appreciate everyone who's went and followed me on my socials. That truly means a lot. I never would have dreamed I would have had, over 1 million people follow me now. That's mind blowing. I don't know why anyone wants to hear me, to be honest, but I'm grateful for each and every one.
Yeah, man. You do good work.
Well, I try. I do work. I hope it's good. I don't know.
How do you pick your stories? Like, you just grab a story and kind of run with it and then kind of narrate a little bit of it?
Well, I mean, yeah, most of the ones I share is stuff that people send to me, emails or DMs. And, some of them just stand out more than others. And, something I tell people, I can't, definitively say, yeah, that's legit. Sometimes it's fake, I'm sure. But, I share it and leave it up to everyone to decide for themselves,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the new people in the chat room, I have no idea what a squatch is. I know what a Sasquatch is, but I don't know what a squatch is.
Yeah.
I remember talking to the late Dr. John Bindernagel back in 2015. And he had heard that I had a Sasquatch encounter with two creatures within 100 feet of me.
Oh, wow.
And he literally wanted to leave this conference for me to take him to that property where it happened. And so we just started BSing our way in the conversation. And I said to him, what do you think of this word squatch? And he literally, it was kind of heartbreaking a little bit because he literally stood up straight. He sighed and he said, 70 years of research down the toilet because of one word.
I can see that. Yeah. Makes sense.
And ever since then, I've banned the word squatch on this show and in the chat room.
Right. That's fair, dude. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I mean, was you familiar with Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who recently?
Yeah, I got to speak at a conference with him last year. I got to meet him a little bit.
Yeah, I got to speak with him at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference this past July. He was a great guy, very knowledgeable. He was it was a loss to the community,
Yes.
when he passed. A lot of the pioneers, or what I call pioneers, unfortunately, have passed and are getting older, and it's sad. I hope people keep doing the work and the carrying on.
One of my good friends is one of those gentlemen. He's getting into his 70s now. Grant Cameron in the UFO world, and he is like an idol and mentor of mine in this field. And I know he's been having some health issues, and just the thought of potentially, losing that contact, like a guy who really helped me break out,
sure,
it would destroy me. It would destroy me like losing my own father. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Sally Elka, how are you? We're going to come back in 10 seconds. Thank you to Erica, Creepypasta, Area 54 for the super chats, and T-Bone, thank you very much for the gifted membership. We appreciate you. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we bring in our new friend, Brandon Gayheart here. He has a great YouTube channel called The Supernatural Sleuth. You can find him on TikTok. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. Dude has over 1 million subscribers in total following his paranormal world. And if you like those shorts, this is the guy who's going to tell you creepy stories. Welcome back, Brandon.
Thank you, sir.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer the TikTok? Do you prefer YouTube?
Well, I started on TikTok, and I really just now, within the last few months, started leaning into Facebook and Instagram. It just kind of blew up overnight, and YouTube's kind of doing the same. It's a whole new beast of its own, though. YouTube is a little different, but I'm learning.
Man, trying to figure out the algorithms, that's a whole different story right there. How often are you putting out new videos?
Oh, I try to do at least 2 shorts per day. Here recently, I've been doing 3 a day.
Holy cow.
And I'm trying to get into the habit of doing 1 long form content on YouTube per week, which I'm just now getting into that. But it takes a lot of time. It's rough when you're a one-man band. So,
oh, dude, you could tell me how to do it because I do this show 3 hours a night, and I know in order to engage our YouTube audience, we got to start doing these shorts, and man, trying to find the time of day to do it. Yeah. It's like, because I work a daytime job too. Right. I'm kind of a workaholic.
Sure.
And it's like, man, like, what do you do? Yeah. So it's really interesting, very interesting. And you should be proud of what you did, though, because, nobody ever, in our generations, millennial and Generation X. I mean, we don't, grow up wanting to be a YouTube influencer or a TikTok influencer, and you just decided to give it a shot, and boom, it took off. I mean, that's just wonderful watching you do that. It's got to be fun for you.
It is, and I've been very blessed with it. And I said earlier, my best friend Zach Hall, I give a lot of credit to him. He's the one who pushed me. I was never the guy who wanted to be in front of a camera. I don't look good in front of a camera. I don't sound good, but I always felt like I had a voice I wanted to share. And he finally one day just cornered me, and he's like, "We're starting today. You're starting TikTok." I didn't know anything about TikTok, but in about 3 months, I was monetized on TikTok, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
It's amazing. Amazing. Let's get back to Joe's question, because right before the break, I wanted to know about what happened when you whistle in the woods, because there's 3 things in the Appalachians you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to whistle in the woods. You're not supposed to keep your windows open at night. And if you hear somebody calling you from the woods, you'd never go check it out. We learned about the whistling. What about keeping your windows open at night? What if it's a muggy night?
I turn on the AC myself. I think the window thing, the curtains, if you've ever spent a night in Appalachia, in the mountains anyway, they're creepy. There's a lot of scary things that aren't even paranormal, a lot of animals, a lot of things you don't necessarily want to see, if you wake up at 3 a.m. and get a drink of water and look out your window and see eyes staring back at you, be it an animal or a ghost or whatever. But some people live by that religiously. While I personally, I don't close my curtains at night, but I probably should, to be honest.
Are you living like? Are you on the outskirts of the forest or something along those lines?
Oh, I live right in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains. I'm surrounded by mountains on each side. So, yeah. I'm not up in the mountains. I live in a rural area, but there's, businesses and a lot of houses, but, I'm surrounded by mountains any direction I go.
What kind of animals do you have out there?
Well, you have your typical deer, turkey, your smaller, varmints, raccoons, possums, but a lot of black bear, bobcats, mountain lions, panthers, coyotes, elk. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, we don't have panther. We just have mountain lions here. We don't have the panthers here, and we don't have the turkeys, at least in my area.
Right.
Lord knows if we did, I'd be trying to grab one.
Oh yeah.
But up here we have to battle. We got the black bears. We have to battle grizzly bears,
Right.
moose. And it's funny because when you say moose being dangerous, not many people actually believe you that a moose is dangerous.
Oh, definitely.
A moose is known to kill more people in the wild per year than bears do.
Oh, definitely. I've heard a lot of stories. Yeah. I'm glad we don't have those.
Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of, it's funny because they're real skittish too. They're very skittish too. You can't get within a couple 100 yards of them unless they sneak up on you. But the weird part about it is you get a creature like that, and getting into the Bigfoot stuff, you get a creature like that where it's 12 to 1,600 pounds, and yet it's walking through the forest silently.
Right.
It should be impossible.
Oh, yeah.
And yet these things are sneaking up on people, not to hurt them because they're half blind, but that they just don't know any better. And then they react very dangerously. That's for sure. So the reason why I asked you that was because I'm curious, what could be looking in your windows at night down there?
Well, some people, of course, there is the wildlife, but there are some people who say they have seen, everything from a ghost or apparition to skinwalkers, wendigos, witches, you name it. People will tell you they see stuff, and I can't say all of it is true, but some of it I definitely believe it.
All right. And the final part of Joe's question, if somebody calls you from the woods, you never go check it out. Do you have a lot of spirits, sprites, cryptids calling people into the forest there?
Well, again, I don't think it's something that, happens on a daily basis, but, obviously if you were out in the forest with a friend and you're hunting or whatever, and you hear your friend yell for help, I'm going to go look for them because I know they're out there. But if I'm out there alone and I hear a voice because a lot of times it's supposed to be familiar voices like a relative or a friend, and I know they're not out there, I'm not going to go look for it. But I guess these entities, be it a cryptid or a ghost, will sound like someone as opposed to just some random person where you might not check it out.
Man. All right, let's get to another audience question here. Let's stick with Joe here for a second. Brandon, do you have security cameras around your house, game cameras to catch things that might be looking in your windows?
I do have some security cameras that are not installed yet, but I do actually have game cameras behind my house for deer hunting purposes. But I'm actually in the process of getting some security cameras around my house.
You have a lot of activity around there?
Wildlife wise, I do. I have my parents' house is right next door to mine, And growing up, I had several paranormal experiences in that house, but I don't have a lot per se, in the woods surrounding my house, but not far away, maybe a mile or so down the road, is known to be a little bit of an active location.
Right. All right, let's move on. T-Bone is asking, Brandon, is the behemoth of scripture the Sasquatch in your opinion?
Well, I have heard that theory, from people. Is it possible? Maybe. Truth is, I don't know. You hear a lot of talk of Sasquatch, and people talk about, the behemoth being dinosaurs, and some people say the Nephilim. So it's who knows, but is it possible? Maybe.
All right, moving on here. Let's go to Paramar if he has a pair of questions. I understand your focus is cryptids, but any UFO or alien activity that you've seen or heard of in your area?
Well, yeah, as I mentioned, a little while ago, I do have some friends who I know are reliable and are not lying, who have claimed to see UAPs, UFOs. I personally, about 2.5 years ago, seen what I believe could have been a UAP or UFO. It was literally right after I started my TikTok account. I was driving home from work and I seen lights in the sky. And I first thought it was an airplane or a helicopter. Oh, a helicopter because it was low. But as I started watching it, it wasn't, the lights were going around and it was moving very odd. I don't know how to describe it. Slower than a helicopter. And I was trying to watch it and drive on these windy mountain roads. So didn't get to pay as much attention as I wanted to, but I was following it for probably close to a half mile. Then it was there and then it was gone. Like it just disappeared, moved at the speed of light because it was just gone. I've never seen nothing like that. And I've been around a lot of medical helicopters working in law enforcement when accidents happen. And I'm very familiar with how helicopters and airplanes move. It was not either of those.
Do you have a lot of military bases in the area, especially Air Force bases that could be testing different craft there?
No. No, where I'm at, there's nothing like that. There's some National Guard armories, but they're not, anything with, I think they're more like construction units. They're not helicopter. They don't have planes or jets or any kind of aircraft at all.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, so it just makes it that much more mysterious too.
Definitely. And my wife actually had an encounter probably 3 years ago. She was driving home from work and what she described wasn't that big. It wasn't a drone. She knew, what drones look like. In the middle of nowhere, she described this thing. It was almost more triangular and it moved right in front of her vehicle and just shut off. And it was, to hear her explain it, it wasn't like any drone I've heard of. It was too small to be a helicopter. I don't know what it was.
Right. Right. All right. Let's go to Paramarv again. The Mammoth Cave system is huge. Does it extend up your way? And do you think maybe cryptids use it to live in or travel?
I think that's very possible. The Mammoth Cave system is the largest in the world. Um, it hasn't been explored, not all of it. Just a small fraction of a percent has been explored. And they believe it's more in Western Kentucky. I'm in Eastern Kentucky, but they believe it expands for hundreds of miles. And it would make perfect sense to think that cryptids or feral people or anything could use that as a passage system because we don't know what's out there or what's under the ground, really.
Have you guys, speaking of the ground and tunnel systems, have you guys had reports of little people or gnomes or anything along those lines running around?
I have heard stories. It's not a common thing. I do remember sharing a story probably about a year ago on TikTok. Someone submitted to me of I think it happened to either their grandparents or great grandparents, where they told a story of the way they described it. It was what you would think a gnome would look like, almost like inside their house one night in their bedroom. So, I mean, it is something I've heard of, but it isn't very common, really. But who knows?
What's your favorite kind of story to put on your channel?
Oh man. Well, I think it doesn't really matter to me if it's a ghost story or a cryptid story, but I've worked in law enforcement for over 20 years, and I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character. I can tell when people are being truthful, I think. And so I can cut through a lot of the stories and stuff I get pretty quickly, I think, for the most part. But the ones who have a story and also have evidence, be it a picture or a video to back it up, those are the ones where I'm like, oh wow, I really I want to show this because people need to see it.
Man, the true encounters that you receive from people on your channel, how many emails are you getting a day on the Supernatural Sleuth of people who want you to make a video on their story?
I honestly can't keep up with it. I was just looking at it a moment ago. In my email, I have over 500 messages that I haven't even looked at, not to count my inbox on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, messages, comments. I get hundreds every day.
Really? How do you know which ones are true and which ones aren't?
Well, I mean, I don't have a surefire way of knowing, but like when someone's really telling the truth, like it's just natural. Like some people, I can within the first few sentences, I can tell it's made up or at least I feel like it is. I don't want to ever call anyone a liar, if they take the time to reach out to me, but the people who really believe what they're telling, and I guess maybe it comes from working in law enforcement, like I can just see, I feel like I have enough experience where I can kind of cut through the clutter of it all. And, some of them just stick out. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but they just jump out at me.
All right. Jules is asking a good question about the feral people. Do you think they are different from homeless and addicted people living on the streets?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, if the feral people do exist, I think they have never been civilized. They have lived in the wilderness, the mountains from birth. Some theories are that they live in cave systems underground, and a lot of, I would say most of the stories I've heard, people describe them as looking malnutritious, almost gray skin. You can tell they're lacking vitamins, sunlight, something. So I don't think these people have ever been civilized or lived in civilization at all.
Man. Do they even, and this may sound like a silly question, but do they even speak English? Or have they carved their own language due to the way it is in the forest with other creatures?
Yeah, again, in the stories I've heard, when they have heard these things communicate or try to communicate, it's to them sounded just like gibberish, just a foreign language, just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. It doesn't sound like English or any other language we know of. So I think they have their own ways of communicating, maybe like cavemen or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I get that. I can totally get that. Man. That is incredible. We got about 4 minutes to go with you tonight. I want to get to Jules' question here. Are you of the opinion Sasquatch could be wherever they wish, including towns and cities? If so, why do people only look for them in the wilderness?
Good question. Well, I guess a lot of that goes back to what is Sasquatch. There's a few different theories. My personal belief is I believe there is a biological flesh and blood Sasquatch or Bigfoot, this bipedal creature who very elusive, intelligent. But on the flip side of that, I think they're just like ghosts. I think demons will take the form of whatever is necessary. If you're looking for Bigfoot, I think demons have the capabilities of looking like a Bigfoot. Or if you're looking for a certain type of ghost, an old farmer from 1930, you're going to see an old farmer from 1930. So I think the flesh and blood Bigfoot, in my opinion, lives in the mountains of Appalachia or the where you're from in Canada or the Pacific Northwest. One's maybe near a city. I question more what is it, but who knows? Maybe.
I get that. What do you want people to know about the paranormal?
Well, I think that you don't need to be embarrassed to share your story if you've encountered the paranormal. There's always going to be haters out there. It doesn't matter who you are or what your story is. If you want to tell your story, you should tell it. And don't worry about what people think. You do you and don't worry about anyone else. And everyone has their own beliefs of what the paranormal is or isn't. And, just don't worry about what people think. You just do you.
For you, you're going to keep on investigating. Do you prefer to investigate haunted buildings and locations, or do you like doing it more in the wilderness, looking for the spirits that are just roaming around the trails?
I like both by nature. I like the outdoors because I've, grew up hunting, fishing, being outdoors. But at the same time, if you take me to a haunted building or a house, and I'm down for that too, especially if it's cold outside. So, I'm a creature of opportunity. Wherever it's at, I'm willing to check it out.
All right, I gotta ask you, what's cold? How cold does it get there?
Well, the coldest it gets, I mean, we have some sub-zero temperatures sometimes, but 20, 30 degrees Fahrenheit, that's pretty cold here.
Oh man, that's hoodie weather.
Yeah.
That's hoodie weather. It'll
Yeah.
top down this winter if it gets cold enough. It didn't last year, but usually around minus 30 to minus 40 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 40 Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Nay. I don't want no part of that. That's we'll usually have a spell where it for a week or two where it may get, 5 below or something, but and it gets down into the teens here. That's like I'm not going outside weather. So
Oh man. Do me a favor, as we got about 20 seconds here. Tell everybody where they can find your channels.
you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook under the Supernatural Sleuth. My email is thesupernaturalsleuth@gmail.com. Feel free to give me a shout out, email anytime.
Man, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time, Brandon Gayheart. Hopefully, it's not the last.
Absolutely.
Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we have Swamp Dweller, then Extra Small Lee Strauss joins us for the Q&A.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. Brandon, thank you very much, my man. You won over a bunch of new fans here in our chat room, and I know they're going to all go over and hit subscribe on your channels.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it and be glad to do it again sometime.
Well, if you could do me a favor, probably in about an hour and a half, this show will be all ready for process. If you want to share it, I'd appreciate that too.
Sure, definitely, absolutely.
All right, buddy. You take care. Stay in touch, okay?
Thank you, sir. You too. Have a great one.
Take care. Brandon Gayheart, everybody. What a great guy. Just an honest to God great guy. You know, you don't, yeah, nothing but good things to say about him. We lucked out with him. I'll be right back, guys. right. Let's bring in extra small. There he is. Got Merle doing that now.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's our thing. That's the way we do it here. A big thank you tonight to Erica Creepypasta Area 54 and T-Bone for adding another gift of a membership to our YouTube membership. Thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate your love. And we're coming back here in about 7 seconds. Here we go with, well, let's call this the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are hanging on out, talking about all things weird and strange. We have Lee Strauss in the Q&A coming up next on the program. But first, we want to say hello to all of you tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Thank you so much. And digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fascinoris. Fascinoris is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. Hey there, Swamp Dweller. My name is Matt, and this is the story of an occurrence I experienced while out in the woods a few months back. A little about me before we get started, so I can preface some things. I'm a state policeman for Florida. I'm a specific type of officer who hunts and catches poachers out in the woods. So I've done and seen a lot of unsettling things, and on top of that, I've got a good bit of tactical and woods training, such as tracking, stealth, and similar areas. I'm not bragging, I'm just making it known so the story is more credible. I've grown up hunting and camping in the woods of Florida, so I'm pretty familiar with how things go around here. Now on to the story. I'd like to keep in shape, so I like to wear armor plates and stuff and go running through the woods to keep myself nice and healthy. I drive my truck to a state forest by my house. I typically like to run just before sunset and during sunset when there's no one in the woods, so I don't freak anybody out and have to explain why I'm wearing bulletproof vest with all this heavy weight attached to it. This time on this evening was no different though. I finished work, changed into my workout clothing, grabbed my concealed carry weapon, put on my shoes, and drove my truck to the forest parking lot. Sure enough, I was the only one there when I showed up. I stretched, put in my earbuds, and started my run. I always run with my badge around my neck, under my shirt and vest, and my gun in a pouch on my vest that's hidden. Nothing was unusual until I was a bit down the road. This was on the latter half of my run. That's when I began to feel uneasy and stopped and took off my headphones. I turned to my right, and there was a girl leaning on a tree, seemingly watching me. She looked about my age or just a bit younger. I'm currently 27. I looked at her and said, "Hey." She responded with a smile and a very quiet hello. She was beautiful, had long black hair, multiple tattoos all over her arms, stomach, and some on her neck, and wore a black shirt that showed her belly. She was wearing tight jeans. If you knew anything about the woods in Florida during the summertime, you'd know it's hot and we get a relentless amount of mosquitoes. That means she was not dressed for the occasion. Immediately, my internal alarm started going off, but I tried to relax. If I hadn't just run 2 miles in the woods, I probably would have had a little bit more adrenaline going on, but I was pretty beat. She mentioned that her name was Lily and started talking to me about what I was doing, why I was wearing what I was, and so forth. Then she began to get a bit more personal, and before I knew it, I followed her deeper and deeper into the woods as it kept getting darker. I was following her further away from the parking lot. I was captivated and terrified, but I couldn't help myself. All my training, instincts, and thoughts were telling me to run. I left there quickly, but I couldn't stop myself. Eventually, as the sun had just gone down, it was getting very dark. My instincts caused me to come to my senses. I stopped and I said I had to get back to my truck, and it was getting late and dark. She did not like this. She immediately started trying to convince me to keep going with her, and when I refused, she approached me, tapped my vest, and said, "This wouldn't have helped you tonight." That freaked me out, and due to my line of work, that is not very easy. The craziest part about all of this is when she said that I could have sworn her eyes were glowing a dim red. I immediately thanked her for the conversation and started to move quickly back to the parking lot. But when I turned around to look as I started running, she was gone. And when I got back to the parking lot, sure enough, my truck was still the only vehicle there. I don't know if she was a demon, a witch, or even a figment of my imagination, but something was very wrong. I've heard of crazy things out in the woods, about the supernatural, but never experienced anything of the such, and I hope to never have to do that again. Thank you for listening, Swamp Dweller. I love the show, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories right there at your fingertips that'll creep you out each and every night. Time for Extra Small. All right. Our good friend Lee Strauss from Element 115 on our YouTube channel that broadcasts each and every Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. right before our show here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, Dave. I'm just glad to be back in the saddle after a week off.
Yeah. We missed you last week.
Yeah.
We did. But you were out investigating with the girlfriend.
Yes.
And how'd that go?
It went very well. We went to what's called the Olympic Strange Days that Toby Johnson puts on. This is the second annual. And we had Maureen Morgan there and a bunch of other speakers. So it was fantastic. There was about 40 of us, 45 of us total. We basically took over an entire campsite. And in the center of the campsite, they set up a stage and, big tarps and stuff because it was raining off and on, and one speaker after another. And then we'd go out at night and do like either a night watch for the sky, in the sky, or we would go out in the woods and do like Sasquatch calls and different things. So it was a blast.
Wonderful. Did you get any activity?
Yes, there was some stuff that happened, Dave.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. One night, I think it was probably Saturday night, the last night there, we were all sitting, listening to Maureen Morgan. She used to be an investigator for MUFON here and the state director in Washington State, but we were listening to her talk, and I just happened to turn over to the left, and I saw in the trees over on the left-hand side, there was this blue orb just sitting there in the trees. And I'm like, what in the heck is this? It's not really clear at all. So there's no stars out, but yet there's this blue orb just in the tree line, probably about 150 feet off the ground in the trees over there. And I would suppose it was about, maybe 500 feet away or so. And I'm looking at this thing, and then Tammy looks at me, and then she looks over there, and she's looking up at it too. And we're watching this thing and it was like it was there paying attention to what we were talking about, like watching the group of us. So that was really interesting. And that lasted for about a minute or two as it was there, and then it just faded away.
No, wait. What color was it again? Blue?
It was a bluish color, just like you see down below here with the radio underneath our names.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Wow. And how long was it there for?
about a minute or two.
Oh, no kid. That's actually a long time.
Yeah. I just sat there and watched it. It didn't really move from the position that it was in until it blinked out.
Man, I love it when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. I don't get any sense of it being like a orb from a Sasquatch or from. I would say that it was alive in some way, Dave.
Right. Right. Oh my.
And
That's
then
actually pretty awesome because that's a rarity. But it seems like in the forest, people that I've talked to who have also witnessed orbs in the forest, they always seem to see like a bluish white orb just hovering there, doing nothing. Maybe it's dangling through the trees, maybe not, but it just seems to always be bluish white.
yeah, exactly. So I would say, maybe some sort of fae or something like that that's interested in what we're talking. And Dave, and I don't get the sense that it showed up randomly. I think maybe because of the subject that she was talking about is why it was there.
So you're thinking that maybe she summoned it.
I think it was more so interested in the group and what she was talking about. So maybe it was something that either we manifested by the group of us, or we were talking about something that it was interested in.
That makes sense. That makes sense. How many people saw this?
Oh, it wasn't all of us. A lot of us were, pretty focused on what Maureen was talking about at the time. But I do believe there was probably at least 12 of us that saw it.
Oh my. That's still quite a bit.
Yeah, because you're looking at a speaker, and then I don't know what the heck, somehow we got our attention drawn over to the left where this orb was up in the trees. So yeah, maybe people that are sensitive saw it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Well, lots of things going on in the UFO and cryptid world. Of course, it's getting closer and closer to Halloween here. And, people, Lee, want to hear your spookiest story of dealing with a ghost or something like that.
My spookiest story. Dave, I had this crazy dream. And it ties into real life. The dream does. So I will tell you. When I was about let's say 11, 12 years old, we were living in this house that was a kind of a U-shaped house. You had the garage that came out front on one side of the house, and the other side was like the master bedroom and a bathroom and an adjoining bedroom on the other side. And in the center of this house was this huge bay window. And when you looked out that bay window, you could see the street out front. You could also see part of the driveway and the walkway that comes up and circles up and goes right there to the front door. So you're in line of sight with the front door if you look off to the left, if you look out the bay window. And in this dream, Dave, I was home alone, and I saw a guy coming in from the sidewalk, walking up to the house. Now, it creeped me out. And so what I did was I ducked down below the windowsill, right? And I heard a knock on the front door. And so I kind of peeked up, and I saw the back of this guy. He's just knocking on the door, right? Knock a couple times, rap, 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 rap. And of course, I wasn't going to open the door. And then, rap, 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 he'd knock again. And I'm like, holy crud, this is really freaking me out. I don't know. And then I could hear like the handle jiggle as he's trying to see if the door, will open or whatever. And I just, I stayed low, Dave, as low as I possibly could underneath that window. And I gave it a couple minutes, maybe like 5-6 minutes. And I figured, okay, I'm going to look to see if he's gone because I don't hear anything anymore. So as I stuck my head up above the windowsill, his face was pressed against the glass right where I stuck my head up.
No.
Scared me to death in my dream. Oh, just wigged me the way out, right? And then he pulled back from the glass and he had his finger like this and he pointed it at me. I got you. I got you.
Ugh.
Yeah. And he walked back out along the walkway and back out onto the sidewalk and walked back the way he came. Now, later on, as I got older, I've always wondered about that dream. It's always stuck there in the back of my head. And as I was going through regression with Dr. Janet Coley over my ET stuff, we got into it. I wanted to know, what the hell was this about? Why did this happen? This guy, come to find out, this same guy was accidentally shot by my stepfather back in Nam.
Really?
Yeah.
Brutal, man.
It's just
Brutal.
twisted.
Totally twisted. I ever tell you my scariest dream?
No.
This happened a couple of years ago, and I actually recorded it. It went on Swamp Dweller's channel called I Died. So one night I'm dreaming, and I'm somebody who really doesn't remember my dreams, right? But this one stuck with me. So it was a sunny day. It was, you could see the forest of the trees all around, and I'm at this lake and on this dock, and there's like 3 people. They're all people I don't recognize. And they drop my body. They're like carrying my stiff body to this lake. They get to the end of the pier and they drop me in the water. And I'm watching myself sink into the water until I find, and you see the sunlight kind of going darker and darker and darker and darker, until I hit the sandy bottom. It was still bright enough for me to see the sandy bottom, and I'm looking up and I'm like, I can't breathe. Hold on. I don't need to breathe. I'm dead. How am I going to get out of here? And I couldn't move my lips. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't move anything. And I'm like, I'm literally going to watch the fish eat me.
Oh my gosh.
And I started panicking, like in my body, like even though I knew I was dead, I started panicking in my body, looking up at the sunlight above, because it was only about maybe 15 to 20 feet of water that I was dropped in. And I was like, man, like, what do I do here? Like, I'm stuck. I can't move. I start seeing the fish slowly swimming around, all these little trout and, other little fish. And I couldn't talk. I couldn't scream. In my eyes, I felt like I could just move my eyes. That's it. Oh man, I woke up in a raging sweat, man. I was so freaked out over that. And the funny part about it is I don't even know why I would dream that. I have no idea. But it was like literally feeling like I was dead. At least the water was warm. I remember the water being warm.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's like a vision from your past life or something. Did you go out that way, Dave?
I don't know. But I really don't ever want to do that again.
No wonder you don't like the water and sharks and all that.
Well, there was no sharks in this one because it was a lake, but then again, you never know. You never know. You know, probably some great white or megalodon swimming in there, but no, that one scared the daylights out of me. You know,
Oh yeah.
it really did. Like I have recalls of abductions. I call them dreams, but I don't know if they're dreams
Oh
because
yeah.
they're, you know, they're really real. And you only get little snippets of it, only about, for the most part, 10 seconds, 15, 20 seconds,
Yeah.
right?
I'm wondering if that's common though with us abductees. If we, for some reason, have a hard time remembering our dreams often.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they blank your memory of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's to cover up trauma or, to keep you calm or whatever. I don't know.
Well,
That's
we're definitely easy to control.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all would go under hypnosis extremely easy.
But that dream that I died that night, to this day, it still scares me, man. It still scares me. I don't know where the lake is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. I just know that one, even thinking about it, mentioning it, scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll carry that with you always, just as I will my dream.
No kidding. I've never had that dream. I remember as a kid, I'm talking like 3, 4, 5 years old. My mom always talked about the boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to bed, otherwise the boogeyman will come and get you or whatever. And I remember as a kid having dreams of the boogeyman trying to get me and my friends. And, because we live back in the 70s, we lived in this cul-de-sac that was, had a bunch, your typical suburban cul-de-sac where all the kids hung out together and you played around and you did all this stuff. And I remember my dreams where as a kid, the boogeyman would come around trying to grab all of my friends. And at that point I could fly by like flapping my arms like a bird. And then I would fly over top of him and stomp down on his head. And then he'd try and jump and grab me. And one day he actually grabbed my leg. Oh, that was scary. That was scary when that happened, man.
Yeah, I've gotten the falling dreams a lot too, where I'm super high in the air and crash down, and it always feels like I'm crashing back into my own body.
I never had many of those. Of course, I had some. I think, ouch, I just bit my tongue while I was talking to you. That never feels good.
No,
that never feels good. But yeah, those falling dreams, those ones are kind of sinister as well. Didn't like those. But there was a meaning behind that. I'm going to have to look that up at the break because there's a meaning about what it means to fall in your dreams. But Lee, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. When we come back, we're going to find out what falling in your dreams means. And we're going to get into, finally, the age of disclosure is going to be released. We're going to talk to Lee Strauss about that here as we enter the final half hour of tonight's show.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right. Thank you for the super chat, little Timmy Senor. Thank you. And good evening, Bombshell Bomber. Hope you're doing well. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, bombshell bomber. Happy birthday to you. I love singing happy birthday to our listeners, man.
You do it well.
You know what? I'm
For
not going to
sure.
say who because they may or may not be in the chat room tonight. But I actually had one person message me one day after singing them happy birthday that nobody had sang happy birthday to them in like 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And they wanted to tell me how much it meant to them.
That's awesome.
Warden Dragon, how you doing? JSCO, nice to see you, buddy. See, look how excited she is. Biggest smile right now. Been waiting almost 10 years for you to sing to me. I know, bombshell. You finally got it out of me. You finally got it out. There it was. I don't know who this person is because is that a pie symbol? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a pie.
Hey, Pie, welcome to SOR chat.
I'm just doing a little light reading here on the age of disclosure. I've heard quite a bit. You know, this is the one has been
Has
held
everybody
back
and
for
their
so
dog
long.
in it.
What's that?
Has everybody and their dog in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Secret War is right. Some people want to keep it close to the vest, and the others want to let it out.
I've been seeing the most awesome yet grossest video reels on my feed lately.
Yeah.
What is that? Bryce Baby. That's a great name. Vanilla Bryce Baby. All right. Welcome to SOR chat. Number one, Nicole Sakic is here. I tried calling you back. You're lame. I tried calling you back. You never picked up. Did you fall asleep? But no, it's these videos of these guys in England, and they'll go into like farmyards and everything that are like rat infested, and then they'll send their team of dogs out there to get the rats. And these dogs are just having a blast doing this. Just a blast. But like, I almost feel sorry for the rats, man. I do, but I don't at the same time. These dogs are so happy. After they rip one apart, they look up at their owner. Look at us. Where's the next one? Dig another one up for us.
That's amazing. And it's not AI generated.
No, not at all.
Wow.
It's a beauty part. All right. We got under a minute to go here. Thank you tonight to Little Timmy Senor, Erica, Creepypasta, Area 51, and T-Bone, my man, with gifting a membership to our YouTube channel. Thank you very, very much. Look at Nicole. So selfish. It's Friday. Go overtime. Here we go, everybody. right, here comes the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Before we bring Lee Strauss back in for the Q&A, want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or others. You can find us on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you there. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Lee Strauss from Element 115 on our YouTube channel. His show broadcasts every Friday night, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific, right before we go on the air. And Lee, we always appreciate you being here.
I'm here for I'm here for the hat tip.
Yes. A good hat tip goes a long way. All right, man. We got to finish off what we figured in the last half hour.
Yes, sir.
Okay, about what does it mean when you're falling in a dream? All right, falling in a dream. This is according to the AI overview of Google. Falling in a dream often symbolizes feeling out of control, insecure, or overwhelmed in your waking life. It can represent anxiety, a fear of failure, or a sense that a situation is unstable. The specific details of the dream, such as who or what caused you to fall, and the emotions you felt, can provide additional insight. So, let's get into that. Common interpretations, Lee. Loss of control. This is one of the most common interpretations and can be linked to stress in areas like work, finances, or relationships, insecurity or instability. A falling dream can suggest you feel insecure on that situation in your life is unstable. Anxiety and fear. It can be a manifestation of general anxiety or a specific fear, such as the fear of failure or a fear of taking a risk. Feeling unsupported. Dreams about falling may indicate that you feel unsupported by others in your life. Betrayal. Some interpretations connecting falling dreams to feelings of betrayal and letting go. One on a positive note, if the fall is graceful and leads to a positive outcome like landing safely, it could symbolize a positive transition or letting go of something negative in your life.
It's never been good when I've landed, I'll tell you that.
I've never seen my landing. I will say this, though. When I was a teenager, from the time I was 3 years old till I was 18, all I wanted to do in life was be a fighter pilot. I wanted to fly jets, right? I wanted to get in that cockpit. I wanted to be a great pilot. I had no interest in like flying Cessnas or airliners. I wanted to, it was all or nothing. Let's fly jets. And honestly, I didn't make it. I didn't make it because during that time in 1991, right after the Gulf War, the Canadian government hacked and slashed the defense budget, and they literally froze hiring on potential pilots with no estimate of when they would open it up. Well, by the time they opened it up, I had already had pins in my knees from surgery after blowing out my ACL and MCL. So the dream was over. But what was weird was when I was 18, I kept having the same recurring dream for about 3 months. And that was I was flying my jet, and my local hometown of Abbotsford, British Columbia, has this giant air show, one of the biggest air shows in North America. And I was flying my jet fighter in that air show as the demonstration pilot. And in my dream, I'm having a great time and, seeing the crowd. It's all the hometown crowd, just feeling really good about it. And then I go to do this loop, but I can't come out of the loop. And right before my jet hits the ground, I project out of the jet into the stands, watching me crash my jet nose first into the ground and dying.
Ugh.
That was kind of creepy.
Yeah, that's something else, being or seeing it from a third party like that.
Yeah. Didn't like
Um,
that one.
No, for me, it's always like I'm going to hit the ground. I'm going to hit the ground. And every time it's like I fall into my body, but I don't see my body until the very last, like, couple second or so. And then
Right.
it's like falling into my body, and it feels really bizarre, like
So
merging back.
maybe you're astral projecting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I will say that it does give me a sense of there is something going on where I'm going back in.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. That is weird though, dude. That is totally weird.
And I don't like being, or I do not like being not in control. Being out of control, either in a relationship or with my life or something like that. I always fight to have control over things that I sometimes can't have control over. So your explanation makes a lot of sense as well.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. On the last show, Josh Rutledge and I got into the movie Age of Disclosure, which is finally going to be released after 8 months of anticipation. Many critics gave it a very high raving review. Many people who weren't familiar with the subject said all of the witnesses, from Jay Stratton to Marco Rubio and everybody else who was in it, there were 34 eyewitnesses to government information claiming that this was going to be the one that turns this story into a reality. And it is finally coming out here soon, going to be released. And a lot of people in the UFO world are public about, or popped up about it in the public. I don't know if I am or not. I don't know. But one of the things that Josh and I talked about is, who's the movie really for? And this is where I want to get your opinion on it, because many people out there believe that a movie like this really isn't for the UFO world. Okay. The people like you, like me, maybe people who listen to this show who are involved in the UFO community, have a vested interest, or just Joe or Jane sitting at home and, maybe they've seen a UFO before, maybe back in 1989 when, they were out as teenagers, out partying in a campfire area and saw something strange fly over, whatever the case may be. But Josh was saying, you know what? A lot of these movies that are being made, a lot of these people who are coming out aren't doing it for us, the UFO world, but they're doing it to try and teach the people who are obtuse to the subject.
Yeah.
And my theory on it is, it always amazes me that these groups, these people, these scientific communities, these government communities, whether it was the defunct To the Stars Academy or Skywatcher or the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, they all have one thing in common. They wish the UFO world would get the hell out of their way. Just don't bug us. Let us do our thing. We'll figure it out. You go sit back in your corner and, find something to get your woo fix on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I remember having a conversation with Lou Elizondo about this. And that was one of the biggest mistakes when he was with the To the Stars Academy, he said they made, was that they did not at all want the support of the UFO community. And he thought that was a grave mistake and one of the downfalls of what they did, because here they had this built-in support and people who would literally, push their role and their project, but they didn't want to support the people who were supporting them. They didn't want the woo crowd, the UFO crowd. They didn't want any association with the UFO community because, we believe in flying saucers, little green men, and anal probes. What's your thoughts on that?
We got two camps here. We got people that like us and like people that are watching the show right now and listening to the show that do believe, and then you've got another group out there, for instance, like my aunt, that don't believe, not at all. How are you going to get them to watch this documentary? I imagine for quite a while it's going to be pay for view. You would have to, pay to see it, or it's on a subscription based platform. I don't know, that I could get her to watch this documentary. Now, the other part of that is a lot of those people that aren't interested in this thing don't know who certain people in the government are, especially the ones that are trying to push the disclosure, and have the hearings that we're having. They don't necessarily know who those people are. They're going to see, oh, it's Luna, or it's, whoever. They're not going to understand what they do in the government and understand the significance about what they're talking about. So I don't believe it's going to do anything. Those people that we want to see this and that we want to understand that these things are real probably still won't see this, unfortunately. So the fact that you said it's not for us, well, I think it is for us. I think it's putting everything in a nice little box in a timeline with all these people that we've probably heard before, but it's very regimented and it broken down and very, in the box. So we might be able to take snippets of this movie or this documentary and then show people that don't believe, and maybe, just maybe, but for the most part, I don't think it's for anybody but us.
See, that's where I'll disagree with you.
Ah.
I don't believe that they have any interest in trying to prop up the UFO world, saying that we're closer to an answer, closer to finding out the truth of what's going on. I think it's just a big facade. I recall Rich Hoffman, a great UFO scientist in this community, when I interviewed him a couple of years ago, basically saying he wishes the UFO community would just buzz off. I'm paraphrasing here, would just buzz off and let the scientists and the military do their jobs so we could figure this thing out. He was basically saying they didn't want us around because we almost like contaminated the field with lunatic theories of alien abductions and experimentation and hybrid children. We kind of made the field look foolish.
Well, that may be the case, and yes, we're always going to have people that are fanatical in one way or another. We believe that stuff because what we've seen with our own eyes, and the people that we trust tell us these things. But yeah, there's a certain segment of it that, of course, is laughable for some to hear and not believe. But there's still, and I think maybe that's why we're so entrenched in listening to the government right now, is because they have such a sense of believability, where the common person doesn't, right? And so at least that's something that we can point to and say, that man or that woman has been in Congress for a very long time, and we should listen to what they're saying, right? Or you should be able to take with what they're saying as truth.
Well, you would hope that you could.
Yeah.
Then you have to worry about all of the narratives that go along with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't think I could ever get somebody that just doesn't care to watch it.
So let's see some of the players in Age of Disclosure here. We have Lou Elizondo. We have Jay Stratton, who used to run, I believe, the UAPTF. Marco Rubio. Is he Secretary of State? Is that what he is now? Mike Rounds. And I apologize to our American listeners that I don't know that properly.
I don't.
Blame me being Canadian. Senator Mike Rounds, Senator Christian Gillibrand, James Clapper, scientist Eric Davis, scientist Hal Putoff, Chris Mellon, who is part of the To the Stars Academy, and also Deputy Secretary of Defense under 2 presidents, Andre Carson, Colin Frederick, Shara Senderoff as an executive producer, Andrew Farah, executive producer. So we have a number of people in there that we are familiar with the names on this list. And it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how it's going to be rated under Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, everything that I've heard so far, everybody's been waiting for this darn thing to be released. And the fact that I don't know why, what was it that pushed it back?
Well, they said they couldn't find somebody to pick up the film, like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or even a major studio in order to work with it. They were struggling with that. And apparently also there were things in the movie that had to, I guess, go through security, shall we say, to make sure that these top secret individuals didn't give up anything top secret. But I am going to see it. I expect my expectations of it all, not to sound like a negative Nelly, but my expectations of it all are pretty much going to be about the same as every other UFO documentary, a bunch of word salad. They're not going to bring out any more UFO videos. They're not going to give us the smoking gun of where these craft are located, or they're not going to tell us what Lockheed Martin is hiding or whatever it may be, and that's why I think Josh Rutledge, on our last show said, that's why a movie like this isn't made for the UFO community, because we're more advanced in our knowledge of where we are. Whereas somebody who's not familiar with this may look at this video and say, this is amazing. I never would have expected it.
Well, like I was saying, you've got all those sound bites from everybody, and I'm sure they're going to go around.
And that's all it really is. It's a collection of sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, as somebody who studies this field, it's been disappointing the last number of years to see how many documentaries, if you go back, say, the last 20 years, the documentaries seem to have the majority of the same people in every documentary. And I'm not poo-pooing the people who were in there. Okay, being the same people. I mean, you could turn on any documentary on Netflix or Amazon, and who do you see? You see Jim Mars, you see Richard Dolan, you see Linda Moulton Howe, okay, and a number of others that are just the same. It's the same people telling the same stories, just a different title of the documentary.
Yep.
Stanton Friedman, how many documentaries was he on? God bless him.
Yeah.
And that isn't insulting those people, because, Lee, if somebody came to you or me and said, hey, we want you to be on 5 different documentaries this year, and we want you to tell the same story or variations of that, would you do it? Of course you're going to do it. You're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not grifting. You're getting paid for your knowledge and your story.
Yeah, I get that. But it's not, it's not like we're people for the public to look up to. And I understand why they choose the people that they want. And that they've chosen to be in this documentary because they hold station. So that makes sense to me. But I believe, like we were saying, Dave, that this is just going to be more sound bites that we've already heard, just put together in a nice little package in a nice little box.
Exactly. And that's why it's probably meant for not us, not meant for people already involved in the UFO community. That's going to be one of the headlines, not made for UFO public.
So that being said, now that we've had that discussion, who's going to actually watch this thing?
Well, I mean, knowing that ratings on UFO shows, UFO documentaries on television, on Netflix, are some of the highest rated documentaries ever. People love reading about this subject. Go back to the New York Times in 2017 when that article came out. It's the largest purchase of New York Times newspapers since 9/11. I mean, it's that popular a subject. So I don't think they'll get a problem having people not watching it compared to those who will. But Lee, we got to wrap it on up. Thank you, Lee Strauss from Element 115, as we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR, Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Yay, us. Way to go, Lee.
Okay. Can you turn down the brightness on your monitor that's up above there, your TV? Yes, sir.
I don't know. Can I?
You should be able to.
Let me see here.
Because a lot of the time for the camera, it's kind of blurry.
Yeah.
It's very bright.
How do I do that?
Should be able to go into settings.
What the hell are the settings on here? Dude, I'm not good with this tech stuff here. What's that button do? What's that button do? I don't know. Input, menu. Let's try menu. All right.
Menu.
Picture.
Yeah.
Our brightness is down to 0.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Wonder if I
Okay.
Oh, damn it. Menu. Tinting. Well, how do I turn this fucking thing down? How's that?
You see, it says Spaced Out Radio, but it's very hard to read because of how bright it is for us on this end.
make it brighter then. What the hell? Maybe that'll
Yeah,
work.
the letters are definitely not defined on this end.
Yeah, but I don't have this on. I only have that part on at the end of the show.
Yeah, but during the show too, it's still the same. It's still very bright.
Well, how do I change that?
It's called knits, but in the menu it won't be called knits. It'll be called.
Let's try that. Let's go more of a warm. You see that there? Oh, that doesn't work for shit.
No. Oh God, that was bad.
What?
Whatever, it went way up.
Okay.
Well, screw it. We're worry about it.
What if I darkened it? Made it black and white. I think it's just the coloring of the letters.
Yeah, something. It's something is kind of funky, but yeah, just leave it there.
What if I go a darker green?
Go back to the screen that you usually use for the show with the maple leaf. There it is. Yeah, it's very from this end you can't see it. It's
Yeah,
you can see the owl, but it's very
that looks horrible.
yeah. See if I can show you here what it looks
I
like.
can see it in the screen here.
All right, I'll send this to you.
Yeah. Oh well. Oh damn it! I accidentally hit that. Damn it. Bring this back here. Oh, and then I smacked myself with it. All right.
That white is so bright. The white.
Yeah. Yeah, but you look beautiful with it on the camera. All right, let me go like this because I have to edit this damn thing now. Oh. Yeah, Tim and I had fooled around with that. You could have caught me on a better angle with that photo. I look angry there. It's terrible. Thanks, Lee.
Picture wasn't for you. I wasn't of you for you.
Sure. Surely.
Well, hey, after I was reviewing the photos that you took of me with the horses, the wild horses out there.
Those were good photos.
Yeah, but did you see where you placed that branch that I was standing next to?
Well, that was on purpose, that one.
That was a little on the risque side.
All right. Give me 2 seconds here, buddy.
Oh, no worries.
can't even see what I typed there. Oh, that's a good one right there, Dave. Good one. All right, save. Good enough right there. Good enough right there. Probably not. Probably should do more, but that's okay. What's your bedtime snack, Lee? Do you have a bedtime snack?
Yes, I do, in fact.
What is it?
Water.
That's
There's
good
my
stuff
cup.
right there. Does a body good.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need I've been noticing I'm waking up at night and I've got extremely dry hands.
Because you're not chewing your food enough.
No.
I'm
No.
telling you right now, I am making a chew your food - Lee Strauss.
What happens when you don't chew your food is your gas gets really nasty.
Yeah, we learned the hard way with Tim.
Oh my God.
Hey, I just, man, I'm just here. But yeah, I got to change up a bunch of the shirts this weekend because apparently the company that I bought a lifetime membership to use their logos says that I can't, my lifetime membership to use their logos doesn't count if I have a small business.
What?
So yeah. So I'm in copyright infringement on a bunch of our t-shirts on the store. So now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up having to redo all of those logos in Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So to make them similar, but they'll be ours.
Interesting. Because they were made with a different program.
Because I took the logos from their website. So apparently I have a choice. I can either remove those logos or I can pay an extra $399 American a year to have access to their logos. And I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? Are you guys fools? Like with I've already paid a membership. With Chat GPT, I can now go create my own logos.
Oh yeah. You can do it.
And put them on my t-shirts, and you can't do anything about it because realistically, if I wanted to be an asshole, I could take those logos and just change the color and the font on the letters, and then I've made that legally mine.
Yeah.
That's now my creation. There's no copyright infringement. So that's what I'm going to end up doing.
There you go.
Yeah.
I tell you, all these people looking for a buck, man.
Well, considering I've had this subscription for a year and a half, and this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Like, you're not getting, I thought about it. I was like, well, maybe I should pay. If that's their rules and guidelines, maybe I should pay. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, I can get this stuff for free thanks to Chat GPT now, which
Oh,
can
yeah.
create anything that I want. And I would sooner pay the $20 or $15 a month that I pay for Chat GPT, where I can do all of this stuff, rather than pay, $400 a year. So that's 400 divided by 12. That's about $38 a month. For what? How many new logos do I create a year? 10? 30, $400 a month. That doesn't equal out.
Right.
And then, I'm trying to figure out, are they going to give me my money back for my lifetime membership then?
There you go.
Right?
Yep. Well, brother, I'm going to go take some headache medicine and go climb into bed.
You go, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you on the air, buddy.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Definitely. Next week will be our first week with my good buddy, Tom Seward.
Yep.
He'll be on once a month or so with us. So yeah, be awesome.
Well, on that note, Lee, good to see you, buddy.
Yep. Talk to you later.
Talk soon. Later. Lee Strauss, everybody. For the rest of you, I'm going to get going here too, because some of us have to work in the morning. Yes, we do. Some of us have to work in the morning. Isn't that nice? I've got so much work to do this weekend. All right. Thank you tonight to Little Timmy Senor, Erica, Creepypasta, Area 54, and another gifted membership by T-Bone, my man. Thank you very, very much. I got them all. And to the rest of you, we will see you Monday when our guest will be Rebecca Hardcastle. Right? Yeah, I love her. She's amazing. Going to get into some exo-consciousness on Monday. I think Rob's here this weekend. If not, I'm sure he'll get some replays up for you. But we will chat soon, my friends. You take care. Be well. Have a great weekend. Good night.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.